episode of Turn Left. I am your host, Indiana's own Dana Black, coming to you live. Yes, all the way live from Black Pearl Studios, where we talk about Indiana politics from the left side of things. Y'all, my apologies. Hello, technical difficulties. But you know me, I'm always going to show up and be ready when I do show up. So here we are. And I'm going to hop to it because I got a pretty full show today. And I want to make sure that I get this news out because there's a couple of things that I'm going to read to you about that have just really been driving me crazy. So first up, child care costs. WRTV reports child care costs are more expensive than rent in 11 states, and Indiana is one of them. I need to read that again because the first time I heard it, or when I read it, I was like, I had to blink my eyes like 14 times, and I was like, is that really a thing? Did that really happen? Yes. Child care costs are more expensive than rent in 11 states, and Indiana is one of them, according to one child care watchdog group. Doris Jones knows firsthand how hard the financial burden hits. She's a single mom of two. She works two jobs to provide for her family. Jones says child care that's high quality and affordable is hard to come by. I got lucky with mine that they did have an opening right when I started back to work. I started working for child care. I think the third month I was pregnant. So I knew very early on. And as soon as I knew, I started looking. According to the 2023 report, the childcareware.org, Indiana is one of 11 states where child care costs twice the amount of average monthly rent. The report also states Indiana ranks as having the 15th highest cost of infant care in the country compared to income. At St. Nicholas Early Learning in Indianapolis, they say they do their best to provide affordable, high-quality child care. However, the state has requirements they have to follow, mainly making workers carry certain set of certification. Once workers have those certifications, they expect to be paid a higher rate. 75% of our budget goes to staff salaries, Kay Hughes, executive director of St. Nicholas Learning Center. Hughes says relaxing some of those requirements could make child care more affordable if the changes are done in a mindful way. How many educated certified teachers do we really need? Asked Hughes. Who needs it and who doesn't? Maybe go with those who have direct hands-on learning time with kids rather than supplemental staff. The same report says while child care prices did increase with inflation, the prices didn't outpace inflation. The U.S. average annual cost for child care rose to just more than $11,500 a year. And I'm going to drop the link in the chat so that you guys can read about this. But yo, we're doing something wrong in Indiana. We're doing something really wrong if child care costs more than your rent. Because if it's going to cost me more money to go back to work to actually feed and house my child than the actual housing of the child, we got some things messed up. And see, this is where government is supposed to understand where they can be helpful to families. We're not saying that child care workers don't deserve the income that they deserve, but there is a way that we can supplement this. Or maybe the rent's too damn high. One of the two. Something's got to give. How do you expect? I mean, we live in a state where there are forced births. Forced births are in Indiana. But now we are telling people, okay, we want you to go back to work and eventually you're going to need child care, but you might not be able to afford that either. Indiana, it seems like, does not actually want to help families. They're supposed to be the people of family values, but they only value their families. Yeah, I said it. I'm not understanding any of this. And maybe one day you people will help me understand what the hell Republicans are thinking about to make it so that in Indiana, families can't actually afford childcare. I need y'all to make that make sense. All right, my next story. You know, I really don't like Todd Rokita. I wish he would go somewhere. I wish he would go down to the border and just stay there because he's like the worst AG ever. He doesn't do anything really to help Indiana other than, propagandize his role so that he could be a Orange Menace acolyte. That's all he wants to be. WTIU reports the Indiana Department of Health stopped sharing individual terminated pregnancy reports last December due to patient privacy concerns. But the Attorney General and an anti-abortion group says this violates the state's public records reporting law. One legal expert said reporting requirements and privacy concerns create complicated gray areas for state officials to navigate. With fewer patients receiving abortions following the near total abortion ban, IDOH raised concerns that releasing the full individual reports could violate patient confidentiality, especially with increased reporting requirements added in 2022. One doesn't know what to expect until it happens. Sometimes, so agencies have to be able to be flexible, says Jemi Saeed. The intersection of patient privacy and public record reporting requirements can mean navigating state and federal laws that set up varying responsibilities. Combined together, it can become complicated for state officials. Last year, IDOH shared its concerns with Indiana's Public Access Counselor. He agreed in an informal opinion, the Access to Public Records Act has an exception for medical records. See, they trying to get your medical records. They want all your information. They want to know if you was pregnant, when you was pregnant, because what they really want to do is prevent you from going across state lines. That's what they really trying to do. Once they find out you're pregnant, they want to be able to say, oh no, you can't travel. But do HIPAA laws even matter anymore? Can somebody help me understand whether or not HIPAA laws matter? Do they? Because it doesn't sound like they do. That you can just give up my personal medical records to the Attorney General who don't know nothing about a woman's body. He don't know nothing about nothing. He's still probably trying to figure it out. He is horrible. I really don't like that guy. And I hope that one of our two candidates, be it Beth White or Destiny Wells, will beat his behind in the fall because I just really don't like that guy. And finally, this was a shocker to me. I didn't even see this one coming. The Indiana Capitol Chronicle reports State Representative Dr. Rita Fleming on Monday announced that she would step down effective immediately, just 1 week after running unopposed in her district's primary election. I work to be bipartisan and benefit my district and generally improve life for the people of Indiana, Fleming, a Democrat, said in a news release. It's been an honor being a state representative. Fleming says she wants to spend more time with loved ones. She hails from Jeffersonville. I have 15 grandchildren, and they and the rest of my family are my priority. Legislative sessions are long up at the State House in Indianapolis, and it takes a lot to work to properly represent House District 71. It's time for me to retire from my post as state representative and focus on my family, she said. The state party is already working to replace Fleming with a successor. They will be hosting a caucus. So you guys look for that. The Indiana Democratic will hold a caucus to fill the office and ballot vacancies once Fleming leaves. So y'all down in that Evansville area, you want to run for office. Now is a good time to put your name on the ballot. Get yourself caucused in if you've been doing the work in the state, in the party. And if you're a precinct committee person, this is an opportunity. We need some people, but we got to make sure we run somebody that can win the election in the fall, because they probably going to come after that seat now that it's open. So make sure that we put somebody in place that can actually win that seat. All right. Hey, that's my rant for today. And now it's time for a word from my sponsors, Bohm's Unique Boutique. Today's show is brought to you by Bohm's Unique Boutique. Click on the QR code. And for all Turn Left listeners, you can get a 10% discount on your order by using the code Democrat. Be sure to visit www.bohmsuniqueboutique.com.
We have known Indiana the way they want to.
right. All right. Now it's time to talk to my guest. See, y'all know I rant an awful lot about the State House because that's where I live, right? During session, I'm working from home. What do I have in the background? I've got committee meetings and I've got the floor arguments. And there are plenty of people like Senator Brown and Representative Wesco who just get under my skin, and I can't actually tell them to their face because people tell me it's rude to do that. But now I got two candidates on the show tonight, and we're going to focus in on the Indiana State House and why they are running to represent their community. First up, an incumbent and a good listen. You will never find a sweeter human to represent us in the State House. Every time I talk to her, she's sweet and caring, and you can tell the work that she's doing is all about helping Hoosiers have a better life. Y'all give it up. Representing Indiana House District 9, Representative Pat Boyd. Representative Boyd, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
One of my favorites. And a newcomer. I love newcomers. I love rookies. Running for Indiana House District 28, Karen Whitney. Karen, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Dana.
Guys, was there anything in my rant that you wanted to talk about? And I'd be okay if you wanted to poop on Tyra Keita, but y'all candidates, y'all probably shouldn't do that. Anything y'all want to talk about?
I got a little frustrated with the special legislation that put him in that place where he can ask for HIPAA records. I think that's a problem.
I think it's a huge problem. And unfortunately, if this is a thing that they really want to do, they can write legislation for it, right? Representative Boyd. Yep. And how much
they do.
Yeah. And how much pushback would we be able to stop it? We wouldn't even be able to stop it, would we?
No, because they control everything.
Yeah.
I don't like politics in general, but it's really frustrating in the State House because we are only 30 to 70. And anything that they want to do, they can pass with a constitutional majority, even if we all vote against something.
Yeah.
So that's why some of the things that are happening are happening.
And it's frustrating. Karen, was there anything in my rant that you wanted to jump in on?
Oh my gosh, let me just, there's so much there because you really cut. First of all, Dana, thank you for your service to the community and for your speaking truth in so many ways and so courageously. What you do and other journalists and thought leaders do is really give us fodder for our democracy in that good way. You fuel it. And you give us things to think about. You give us things to lean in on or push back on. So thank you very much. What I will say, because I'm a retired college president and my doctoral research area is higher education, finance, and economics. So what I can tell you about childcare, and I'm going to give you guys a micro course in educational economics. This is very complex. I'm going to go slow, but I know you guys can do this. Childcare costs, like higher ed costs, based on really a simple formula. What's the cost? What does it take to deliver it? Minus any subsidies, which usually come from government or an employer or from other sources, equals the price the person pays. So the only reason in Indiana those prices you're talking about exist is because the state has neglected to step up and provide the subsidy piece. And instead, they've expected the people of young children, in this case, to fully realize the cost. So let's separate this out: cost, subsidy, price.
Right.
Because I got to tell you, the worst thing we could do is only think, let's beat down the cost, because that affects quality.
Yeah.
That affects the first reason we do this is that we want, in this case, from birth to school age, to have a quality experience.
Yes.
How do we ensure a quality experience? By having properly trained people in that child care space. The same thing, by the way, goes for the other bookend, higher education. The only reason anybody is paying tuition and fees that they think are a burden to them is because not the cost It's the subsidy. The state has divested its commitments, its constitutional commitments to education in this state is a shame. And we need to call it out exactly what it is, because childcare and the industry is good. Higher education is good. K-12 is good, and they deserve our tax dollars. Now, they deserve accountability.
Of course.
They deserve reasonable oversight. They deserve also we need to have their back.
Yeah.
These are trained professionals. We need to get out of their way. Legislators need to stop telling them how to do their jobs.
Yeah.
And they need to support them. They need to provide competitive wages, good working conditions, and a true support. And the support really ought to be, what are the outcomes we're driving to? We're driving to an early child experience that prepares them for K-12, a K-12 experience that prepares you for adulthood, a college experience that prepares you for continued adulthood.
Sure.
It is fair for politicians to say, here's our outward outcomes. Here's what I'd like to see in my district or state. What they need to do is stop micromanaging, bullying, and mistrusting our entire delivery systems of education.
Wow.
I could go on. It's my wheelhouse. I'm passionate about it.
And I did not know that. But I'm glad I brought it up, because last week I talked about education, where they were talking about removing economics and finance and world history from as a requirement. And I'm like, really? So I'm glad that I brought it up, that we can have that high level conversation about what the real issue is. And that is Indiana divesting from wanting to have an educated society. And I don't understand that. How do you attempt to grow the economy of the state if you don't have a well-educated workforce? They are working to keep Indiana at the bottom. It's a race to be Mississippi. And I love Mississippi because that's where my mama from. But that's what we're racing to be: Mississippi, Arkansas, and West Virginia, because that's the kind of workforce they want, something that they can have simple worker bees. And I don't understand why they want it. They say Indiana that works, but it's Indiana that works for less. Y'all, tonight's gonna be hot, and I can already tell this conversation is gonna be a banger. Listen, but more importantly, Every Turn Left is a fundraiser for our candidates who are running for office. So be sure that you click that link and donate to those candidates. Every donation you give will be split between our two candidates on tonight's show. And then when it's up on YouTube, you'll have their links and you can donate directly to them. But please consider donating to these candidates, because it takes a lot to win these elections. We can't time, talent, or treasure, y'all. All right, let's get the party started. Representative Boyd, tell the people who you are and where you come from.
I'm just, I'm, I'm the daughter of two World War II Marines.
Wait,
I'm the oldest of 8. My mama was a Marine. She was a cartographer. She made maps from aerial photos.
Ah.
And my dad was on the USS Wasp when it was torpedoed in the South Pacific.
Wow.
And he and his twin brother both survived.
Wow. Wait a minute. Twin brothers were on the same boat?
Yeah, that was before the Sullivans.
Ah. Interesting. So I bet you had a pretty rigorous and straightforward upbringing. Bet those.
I don't know. There were 8 of us.
Ooh.
There were 8 of us, and I think my mom lost control after a while.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, no, we are. Take all you want, but eat all you take, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I understand.
That was her big rule. Yeah. But I worked for a grocery store while I was in college and high school. Became a service manager after I graduated from high school. College. I got a degree in English, which did nothing for the store, but I got hired full time when I got my degree, which makes no sense. I worked for them for 11 years almost, and my son was born when we moved to Indiana after my husband got a job at the steel mill.
Okay.
We lived in Chicago till I was 27.
Okay.
So, and when my son was little, I could stay home with him because we couldn't afford childcare.
Wow.
We didn't have any relatives here, and we survived. And when my husband was injured in a car accident in 1985, I became a caregiver for 31 years.
Oh, wow.
He was a quadriplegic.
Oh, wow.
From a car accident. And we started a business at home because he couldn't go to work and I couldn't leave him to go to work. And there was no support for us. So we started a business with a 24-hour answering service and a secretarial service. And we made phone calls for 6 units at the steel mill to keep their overtime in line so nobody got skipped in seniority. We kept the records and we did all the substitute teacher calls for Michigan City schools.
Okay.
And we did all this until, well, Bethlehem went under. So we lost that. And then the Michigan City schools changed to a computer system, which nobody's really happy with, but it's cheaper. So when my husband died in 2016, I closed the business because I didn't need to do all that stuff anymore because I just couldn't do it. But I was elected to city council in 2003. So my term started in 2004 because I helped save a wetland.
Yay.
I thought so. I didn't do it alone, but I helped save it. And then I was on city council until 2015. And then I was talking about retiring after 2016 because I thought I should limit my term.
Okay.
And then in 2015, Scott Pelath retired from the State House and they asked me to run in his place. And I said, I got to talk to my kids. My daughter-in-law said, yes, you have to do this. And my son said, Mom, I think you're crazy, but I'll support you if you want to do it. And my grandson was like 6 at the time. I told him what was involved and he says, we can give it a try, Grandma.
I love it.
So I ran against, I don't know if it was 2 or 3 men in the primary and I won. And then I won in the general and I'm still there.
And we are
I'm still running.
Listen, let me tell you something. I have watched those committee meetings. I've watched what happens on the House floor. And let me just say first, I do believe everyone on the Democratic side needs to have therapy for 3 months after the 3-month session, because how y'all sit there and maintain decorum when people are speaking nonsensical and just a whole lot of stupid. I mean, really just a bunch of stupid is astonishing to me. And I applaud the work that y'all put in because I'm telling you, the more I watch, the more I realize I can't be in the State House because I'm going to call somebody an idiot. And that would not be cool. My mother would be really upset with me.
Yes, she would.
So, I'm glad you mentioned your husband and the unfortunate accident, but then you becoming a caregiver. This year, we have seen where FSSA has truly dropped the ball. And Republicans don't even want to own it. They want to pretend like that this ain't their thing. But they run in the whole government. They have every branch of government, and they appoint who runs what departments. So you can say it's FSSA, but it's Republicans that's messed up. Talk about, when you hear these people, the family members talk about the struggles that they have with dependent care and their children, and the lived experiences that you have, and what we need to be doing as a state to better help these families.
Well, first of all, there was a $1 billion shortfall.
Yes, ma'am.
In the Medicaid money, and where they're taking it away is from the parents who have kids who have multiple medical issues, and they're not getting the stipend to stay home with them, and they can't afford to get someone to stay with them, and they need someone who's trained to do it. Each one of them has individual issues, and it's unconscionable that happened. But we asked the speaker to give us a report or let us do a study on how that happened. They didn't do that.
Of course not. Because
they don't want us to know. I really think that's what it is. It's really unfortunate because we really should know how that happened.
Can we get a FOIA request for that one?
I think maybe we should.
Okay. But go ahead, keep talking.
Okay. So a lot of those people, those moms came to the State House with their kids every day in their strollers and their wagons and whatever else they were going to use. brought their kids with them because they couldn't leave them home. They didn't have anybody watch them. It's a 24-hour job when you're a caregiver.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a press conference. The Democrats had a press conference, and we had all those people there with us, and we talked about them. We talked with them. They talked, and it's unconscionable that this is happening, that they're taking it away from the ones who need it more than anybody else.
Yeah.
It's bad enough that they had $1 billion shortfall. That was, I don't know who messed that up. We don't.
Republicans.
The Democrats don't write the budget. We try to get things into the budget that don't usually get in there, but we don't do the budget. We just approve the budget.
Right. Well, and
so
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, but at the same time, they're supposed to be the party of fiscal responsibility. How do you
Exactly.
can't even claim to be fiscally responsible if you lose $1 billion?
I agree. And we have this huge surplus. I think right now it's about $3 billion. And there's actually more in the state coffers because they have projects that it's earmarked for something. It's, and sometimes they'll take it back as a reversion to the budget. Like they've got a budget for a school building or a college campus, or something that they're planning to do, and they've marked that money for that process in a previous budget. And sometimes they take that back and they call it a reversion, and it goes back into the general fund. And then later on, they have to reappropriate money if they still want to do the project.
Wait a minute,
So-
Representative Pat Boy. You just said something that's got my brain ready to explode over here. You said that Indiana has over $3 billion in surplus, meaning it's not earmarked for anything. It's just sitting there earning interest, hopefully.
Yes.
And
Yes.
FSSA is $1 billion short. $1 billion short. You mean to tell me they can't take $1 billion from the $3 billion and still have $2 billion left over and make sure that these families have what they need?
I think it would be a smart thing to do, but they apparently don't. It's
Republicans don't like
it boggles
your
my
families.
mind. It just boggles my mind that they can do this and just let it go.
Republicans don't like your families because they have a
They don't like me either.
Well, and that's okay. We love you. But I mean, the whole idea that there is a $3 billion surplus and the FSSA was $1 billion short. And instead of taking $1 billion from the $3 billion, leaving $2 billion, they're going to take it from families who have children who have real special needs and have care needs that they need somebody there all the time. That's just crazy. We're going to come back to you, Representative, because now you got me.
Can I say one more thing about it?
Absolutely.
The money that's in the budget, the $3 billion that's in the surplus can be used if they want to use it. And I lost my train of thought.
That's okay. I know. I do that to people.
I do that a lot too. So
my ADD kicks in.
I don't know what mine is. I think it's old.
I love it. All right, we'll come back to it. We'll come back to it.
Okay, I'll think of it again.
Yeah, Karen, tell the people who you are and where you come from.
Yes.
Well, Dana, thank you. My name is Karen Whitney, and I'm proud to say I live in Brownsburg, Indiana, in Hendricks County. And this was my second time coming back to Indiana. I was lured away from another state to come to Indianapolis in 1999 to serve as Vice Chancellor of Student Life at IUPUI, where I served there from 1999 to 2010. I'm a lifetime higher education leader in public higher education. I'm a badly retired college president. I went from IUPUI in 2010 to become president at Clarion University in Pennsylvania. And then with COVID, I retired out and I returned back to Indianapolis because this is where my family lives. And I have friends and family here, and I came back and now I live in Brownsburg. So I love Indiana. And since 1999, I've said, I love Indiana. I love the people. I don't like the politics.
Come on.
And so, I'm kind of a basic thinking former college president. So in January, on a cold, dark day in January, I started thinking that I said that to somebody, and then I said, you know what? I think it was Gandhi is attributed to this: be the change you want to see in the world. Did I get that quote right? And I thought, you know what? I don't work full time anymore. I have a consulting business, and I work with various higher education leaders around the country so they can be successful. And I said, I got some time, I got some treasure, I think I got some talent. Let me kind of explore. Might the citizens of District 28 for the representative seat want to hire me? Because I consider a vote a hire.
Mm-hmm.
Would they want to hire me to be a new representative for them, a new fresh voice, new ideas, new eyes to solving old problems? Because I can tell you that a lot of the problems we have now, we had in 1999, and they have not gotten solved. So what I like to say is today, I am not a politician. I'm a badly retired college president, and I'm also wired to get things done. So I'm not a politician. I get things done. I'm exploring with the constituents of District 28. Would you like to hire me to be your representative and your voice? I've been doing online and on-ground listening tours around the district.
We're not there yet. We're not there yet. Hold on. But I will say this to you. I will say this to you. Would you want someone to work on your mouth if they said they were not a dentist?
I believe the answer is no.
I need people to work who are going to work on policies to be politicians. So I get what you're saying, because, politician has gotten a dirty word, but it's the practice of creating policy. So please own it. You can be a failed retired president, which I think is hilarious. Like, I love that part. But please don't discount the fact that you are a practitioner of creating policy, which would make you a politician.
Dan, I can see your point, and I've certainly created my share of policies and leading universities in several states. My point, though, is today I'm willing to become an elected politician if the citizens in my district want me to.
Absolutely.
And I'm taking it from a position of humility. And I'm not jumping in to say I'm willing to, because there's a learning curve here and a humility of, while I'm super good at what I do in higher ed, being a thoughtful, effective lawmaker is a skill and disposition that I know I need to acquire. But I'm open. I'm a good listener. I'm a good talker.
But wait a minute, hold on.
I get stuff.
Hold on. But it also sounds like you have been in positions where you've had to navigate difficult personalities. Because I imagine folks walking around with PhDs and you got to call me doctor have egos. How have you learned to manage those elevated, and they're well deserved, because, honestly, people ask me, do I ever want to go get my PhD? And I tell them all the time, only reason why I would do it is so that I had to make people call me Dr. Black. And so there would be that's not a good reason to do it. But how have you learned over the years to manage? Because when you get in that state house, baby, there's some egos.
Well, I can tell you what I've done. I was president in a county that was majority Republican. And I work across the aisle. I work across our views of the world, our views of life, our views of politics. What I drive to is coming to a common ground of what are the outcomes we want to achieve, and coming to terms with where do we have mutual interests and working from that. For example, in being a college president, there's an interest that every person who goes to college graduates. They prepare themselves for great lives and livelihoods. On that platform, I could find people who could agree to that. Now, how we get there, there's lots of views, and there may be some disagreements. But the idea of looking at, well, first of all, there are a lot of people who are running as Democrats this season, and it's good because we need to restore balance to our democracy in this state.
Come on.
We are out of balance. We are experiencing now decades of one party. And I'm going to say this is one party because this may not be just a Republican thing. I wonder, this may be just the idea of one party controlling all the seats at the table for decades, I think with human nature can result in an abuse of power. I see an abuse of power. The representative was describing it. You were describing it. And we need to get back to the middle to have a healthy democracy. So because our citizens deserve the best of us, not the easiest of us.
Absolutely.
The best of us. And so that's where I'm coming at. So I think one of my superpowers is to listen and to cut to the chase on what matters most, put the noise aside and get to it. For example, we need quality childcare for our young children. We need quality K-12 for every child, not just your child. Every child.
I love it. Ooh, I like that. I love the passion that you bring it with it too.
So that's me.
Hoosier Women Forward is changing the future of Indiana. In a state where half the population is women, only 27% of our elected state house officials are women. That's why we're empowering women to take the lead, run, and win.
This program not only equips women with the skills to be leaders in our communities, it builds a strong network and sisterhood who continue to inspire one another to grow and lead in boardrooms, corner offices, and elected positions across the state.
Indiana Hoosier Women Forward program is one of the best programs I've ever been a part of. It's really important for the next generation of female leaders to apply to Hoosier Women Forward. The amount of experience and expertise that we've been able to have access to has been life-changing.
I am so proud to be a member of Hoosier Women Forward's sixth class of leaders who are changing the political landscape of our state.
What this organization means to me is that I have a lifetime network of hardworking, determined, fierce women in Hoosier Democratic politics that will always have my back.
Being a part of Hoosier Women Forward has been amazing for the last several years. As a former candidate for the Indiana State House, the policy knowledge, the personal connections, and really just the sisterhood of women in Democratic politics has meant so much to me.
I really have enjoyed the Hoosier Women Forward program for a lot of different reasons. But the biggest reason for me was really that personal woman empowerment.
Something that I've really liked about being a part of this class and being a part of the Hoosier Women Forward network and group is that, one, I get to be surrounded by passionate women who are committed to making our state a better state for everyone.
I would encourage any woman, any Hoosier woman, to apply for Hoosier Women Forward because you're going to be inspired and you're going to have a group of sisters to always encourage you and help you along the way.
Democrats, are you looking for an affordable digital content creation solution? Then look no further than Black Pearl IT Solutions and Black Pearl Studios. Indiana's own Dana Black is providing many of the communication wraparound services any Democratic organization needs. No matter the size of the budget, Indiana's own and Black Pearl Studios have you covered. Just scan the QR code or visit www.blackpearl-its.com. Indiana's own Dana Black turned left. I am sitting here having an amazing drop, just bombs being dropped with Representative Pat Boy of District 9 and candidate Karen Whitney, who's running for District 28. Guys, turn left. Make sure you click the donate button. Help these candidates get elected. All right. You know, Karen, I'm going to start with you first. I want to know why, everyone has like their three main points. I got a feeling I know what one of them is, but everybody has three main points as to why they're running for office. Tell us why you want to be a House rep in Indiana and represent District 28.
Well, I want to bring smart government back to Indiana. It was here.
Sorry.
I mean, Lugar Bay was smart government. Where you had Frank O'Bannon as governor and a Republican-led legislature with smart government. We've had smart government that's meaningful, sensible, accountable, reasonable, and I want to bring it back, and I want to be part of getting us back to a 50-50 representative House and a 50-50% on the Senate. And we need to get back to having as an expectation that you have Republican governors for a period, then you swing to Democrat, you swing to Republican. That gets healthy government for everybody. In terms of policy areas, yeah, you got me. Educational excellence, I'm going there. Quality healthcare, great jobs. And I want to say on quality healthcare, that is like we need to ensure skilled, dedicated professionals, and we need to support them. Skilled, dedicated professionals in education, and support them. And while my Republican opponents might say, well, support's money, it is not just money. It's money, good working conditions, and knowing that I've conferred degrees to teachers and nurses and other people in healthcare and in education. They are so ready to do their jobs. We need to get government out of our doctor's offices. We need to get government out of our libraries, and we need to support these trained professionals as the people they are and let them loose to do great things for us. In terms of greatness, we need great jobs. But a great job isn't just simply a low unemployment rate. That is like a dumb number. Cool. We need jobs that are secure. We need jobs that pay enough people can pay their bills. They can handle the emergencies that get thrown at them in life, have health insurance, and I'll be 65 in October, and you can retire comfortably. So it is not just simple, dumb metrics, but real quality of life issues. That is why I'm putting my retirement aside and willing to jump into this stuff, because we can do better.
Oh my gosh, you got me fired up. Representative Boyd, I'm going to flip it just a little bit for you because you have served. First, I want you to tell me what you're most proud of that you've accomplished in the State House. Give me that one thing first, and then what you are planning on working on when you get reelected in November. Talk about what you're most proudest of.
I think probably I've only had one bill heard in committee so far.
What?
One. In all that time, I've done 10 bills in every odd numbered year, and five bills in every even numbered year, because that's what we're allowed. And I have had one bill heard in committee. It won't go anywhere if it's not heard in committee. The first one that was heard was when ArcelorMittal had the spill in the waterway going into Lake Michigan. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much you've heard about that, but they had a arsenic overflow and it killed 3,000 fish. And it was going straight to Lake Michigan, not directly, but through the waterway that goes there. And they are required to report that to IDEM. They never reported it. IDEM found out about the spill through the media. So I had a bill that said, if you have an accident, which happens, and you have a spill that goes over the limits, you have to report it. You have to report it just as always, as required. But there was going to be an additional penalty. And nobody wanted to hear about that. But they heard the bill, but they didn't vote on it in committee. So it was gone, but it made the point. So I was happy with that. I had a bill 3 years in a row saying that kids who are arrested at school, they have to notify the parents. I went to an NAACP meeting in Michigan City here, and there was one person who got up and said, I have a complaint. My kid was arrested at school, and I found out when his friends told me.
What?
Yes, and that three more people at the same meeting said that happened to me too.
Wait.
Now I know this is not.
This is where I got to come in again. See, you breaking me, Representative Boyd. You breaking me tonight, because a teacher can be held liable for child abuse if a child comes to school one day and says, please don't call me Tommy, please call me Connie. And if they don't report that, oh my God, it's child abuse, it's child neglect. But you're saying that a child can be, why is a child being arrested in school? It's a whole nother conversation. But a child can be arrested in school and they don't have to notify the parent? What are you saying to me, Representative Boyd?
That it wasn't happening all the time. I'm sure that sometimes they did. I think part of the problem is sometimes people don't have their information up to date, or they can't answer their phone at work. But I also added that they have to call the emergency contact if they can't reach the parents. So I had this bill 3 years in a row. It was never heard in committee, but in my third attempt, I asked the chairman if he would hear it. And he said, I can't do that, but take it over to the Senate and see if they can put it in a bill over there. Because he said, it's common sense. Yeah, I know it's common sense. All the sheriffs and police had said it's a good idea, but it wasn't being done. So it went in a bill in the Senate, in Rodney Pohl's bill on juvenile justice.
Okay.
So his bill was heard in committee, and it was heard with my amendment, and it was approved. And then it came back to the House. It was voted on unanimously in the Senate. And when it came to the House, they made a small amendment to it, which made it better. And it passed in the House unanimously. So I got one thing done.
But you know what? That right there, that story you just told gave us a glimpse into what it takes to get legislation passed, even heard when you don't, when there's a supermajority. And granted, 150 people turning in 10 bills one year and 5 bills in a budget year. That's still a lot of bills. So some bills are not going to be heard. But I also heard, and Representative Delaney told me this. He was like, the Republicans get in a back room because they have a supermajority, and they go through the list of bills. And they decide if they think it can't get out the floor, they won't even call it. So they don't even hear the bill because of how they feel in a back room. That is so problematic.
I agree.
And so
that's an abuse of authority. That is democracy denied.
Absolutely.
And then the next one that I almost had heard was a bill on coal ash and removing it from the ponds and the power companies.
Yeah.
I've worked on that for 3 years too.
When I ran in 2016, I ran on coal ash pits. That was one of my platform pieces in 2016.
Well, I had talked to the chairman and I said, "Can you hear my bill?" And he said, "I think it's the only one I'm going to hear." And I was like, wow. So I gave him more and more and more information about it. And then the last time I asked him about it, he says, "I can't hear your bill." He didn't go into it, but I'm sure it's because leadership didn't want him to do it.
Of course not.
So it was not heard. But then we had a conversation. The 4 women on the committee are all Democrats. And we had a conversation with the Indy Star about why it wasn't done. And we made the mistake of not saying off the record. And we said, if he's going to be doing the job of a chairman and making more money on it, he should be doing his job. He had a good sense of humor about it, but it was really frustrating for us because we couldn't hear, he didn't get to hear the bill.
Wow.
He retired after that. So, it was kind of like he could have done it if he wanted to, but he didn't want to enough, I guess.
Wow. So what are you looking forward to working on when you win your reelection?
I want to do a couple different things, and I'm not sure exactly which ones I'm going to do. I think I want to reintroduce my bias crime bill.
Tell us about that one.
I had a bill to, if somebody was convicted of a crime and there was a bias involved in that crime, they could have a higher sentence for it.
Okay. So is it like a hate crimes legislation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
It was just called bias crime when they wrote it for me.
Okay.
But I talked to the legislative services and they did that bill for me. They do all the bills because they write them so that they follow the law and they don't have things in there that don't belong.
You would think the Attorney General would be down with this one because he just put up this week about, higher education institutions. You better watch the anti-Semitism. So you would think because, and honestly, hate crimes is a hate crime. If a black dude walks up to a white dude and punches a white dude in the head and said, "I'm punching you because you're white," that's a bias crime, right?
Yes.
It's a bias crime. So hopefully they'll see the value in. I mean, especially with the bill they passing, making it messing with your tenure if you don't share both sides of an argument.
Yeah, I agree.
I spend too much time watching y'all, I think.
I did remember what we were talking about in the budget.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. They keep that much money in the budget because they want to keep their A+ rating for bonding
Yes.
purposes, but they never bond anything.
Yes, that AAA rating. While parents are struggling to take care, what does that rating do for that family? Can somebody tell me?
Nothing at all.
What
Nothing
that
at
rating?
all.
See, they are prioritizing something else over Hoosier families. Republicans don't give a dang about your family. All they care about is their family.
I don't think it's just that they don't care. I think they don't even know that people exist that don't have jobs and can't work.
They
or,
know.
You know,
They know.
it doesn't register with them how important it is that they need help.
See, wait a minute. You know what? See, I told you Pat was super kind and sweet. I told y'all that when I introduced her to y'all. Didn't I tell y'all that? You trying to tell me that grown men and women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s don't recognize that some people fall on hard times and don't have a job? I call BS on that one. They know it. They know it. They do not care. They want you to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Remember? They feel like if they survived it and they were able to do it, then why can't you? Not recognizing.
But they forget.
Yeah, well,
they forget that not everybody has those boots.
You see, you so sweet. You know, there's a special place in heaven for folks like you, Representative Boyd, because I call BS. They know. Because they have, you know why I know they know? There's a FSSA office in every county in this state. How do I know that? I used to work for ISA. I used to have to go around the state and, I'm sorry, IoT. I used to have to run around the state and fix stuff. Because I worked in the IT department. And if y'all don't know, the FSSA office is the food stamp office. And there is one in every county. Some counties have more. But there's one in every county. So they know. Again, but you such a sweet person. You want to give them clowns the benefit of the doubt. I just can't do it. Because they know.
Okay.
They know. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, what do you?
But Dana, I will tell you, as I'm talking to the constituents in District 28, there are Republicans who've told me they're going to vote for me.
Oh,
there
good.
are people who've said there are good, honest, thoughtful people who are Republicans and independents and Democrats.
I'm talking about the ones at the State House. I'm not talking about the rank and file.
Yeah. That's. I mean, I think that's important to know that, and I think at the State House, what they have suffered from, and it is a suffering, and I feel sorry for them. They are isolated, they are insulated, they have now had decades of power and privilege that have put them in a place that's not the same place the three of us live in. And now they are working from mistrust, fear, and doubt. They don't trust us as citizens. And they want to, so these kinds of rules and laws and overreaches and abuses are their way to control us. And it's wrong, it's misguided, it's expensive, it's undemocratic. But it happens after decades of this kind of power year after year. And hats off to Representative Boyd and the whole Democratic group in the House and the Senate in trying to give a voice, in working to show that there are multiple ways government should serve the people. The people don't serve the government.
Come on.
And I think there is a misunderstanding there. And as my grandmother from South Texas would say, bless their hearts, that they need to have more Democrats in the House and the Senate. We need to have a Democrat as governor so that we can reset the democracy table in this state.
And I think one of the reasons why they are able to get away with the shenanigans that they get away with in that state house is because they have made it a point to be intentional about defunding public education. If you are not teaching people things, and they're only learning to fill a job versus learning how to think and disseminate information, you can put it all in front of them. You can have all the transparency that you want to have, but if they don't understand what you said or how it's applicable to their lives, then they can do whatever they want to do. And they have they have set Indiana back generations with that supermajority. What I got, Pat, I got Representative Boyd, one more. Give me one more plan of yours moving into the next session. I know you got a good one. or better yet, talk about.
I'm not sure which ones I'm going to do yet.
Okay, well then we'll hold off. But talk about this. I got a good one for you. And see, Karen, these are one of the things that you're going to have to learn how to become an expert at. Talk about some of the bills, Representative Boyd, that you have tried to make bad bills that you try to make less bad, and how that process works.
The wetlands bill this year. There was in 2021, Senate Bill 389, which took away all protection for wetlands that aren't directly connected to waterways. They're called geographically isolated wetlands. They had a class 1, class 2, class 3 system to identify what level those wetlands were, whether they were very disturbed or undisturbed or in between. And it was very unclear which one was which. So I had a bill to try to identify the class 1, class 2, class 3. And the chairman of the committee had the same bill, except his was a little bit different. And he also included the mitigation ratios that used to be in the code. So his bill passed. But he had one little sticking place in there where a class 3 wetland, which is the top, like a globally rare dune and swale dune wetland up here. It's globally rare, and we've got a couple of dune and swale wetlands.
Mm-hmm.
If there's damage to them, if they're not pristine, they can become a class 2 wetland, and they can get permits to build on it. It makes no sense, but it passed. I tried to talk them out of it. It didn't work.
And it's frustrating, especially when you go to different towns. Like I was in Jay County, and they talked about they keep having these crazy floods in their towns. And a lot of that is because we are not protecting the wetlands to help filter. That's
each wetland can hold 1 million gallons of water. And if it's an intermittent, like what do they call it? The ones that disappear after a while.
Mm-hmm.
But they're there, and they collect water when it rains, and they keep that from flooding somewhere else, and it'll hold 1 million gallons of water in each acre. So if we take those away, all that water is going to go
into
right
your
back
house.
And take all the soil away with it and go into a waterway somewhere, or it'll go in your house. Yeah, exactly. So Senator Glick this year had a bill, which is almost exactly my bill last year, which was not heard, to protect wetlands by having, if it's an isolated wetland and you've got it on your property, you can protect it and get a tax deduction on it as a wildland. So anything higher than 1/2 an acre. I was a sponsor for that bill in the House because it was a good bill. And I got up and talked about it on the floor. And I said, this is a really good bill. We need to do this. If you're a developer or a builder and you want to build on a wetland, you can save the wetland as an amenity. You can get no mitigation costs, no permit costs. And I can't remember what the third one was. There were 3 ways they could save money and save the wetland at the same time.
Wow. See, you incentivize them protecting the environment.
Right. So I supported that bill, and it went through. It passed in the Senate and the House.
See, Karen,
But,
that's a skill set that you're going to have to learn, because when they're not calling our bills, you're going to have to figure out which one of the bills that speaks to your values that you can jump on and try to help get through. And after hearing some of these stories, Karen, right? What are your thoughts on the hoops that these House reps have to jump through to get some, common sense legislation heard?
Well, I think you need patience, passion, and persistence. is what Representative Roy is teaching me today. I already knew it. I've worked with state representatives and senators in several states throughout my career, generally around higher ed policy. So I understand how you work to present good laws, and then how you try to, let's be candid, how you fix bad laws, and for the greater good. So I think it is something. I've been on the other side of the table as a content expert, giving information, providing insights, helping formulate solutions to problems. I look forward to being on the other side of the table of being a lawmaker. And of course, in Indiana, I think we need to be, in some cases, a law remaker, because we got a lot of bad laws right now.
Ooh, baby, you said a mouthful there, honey. They attacking every marginalized community. They're trying to take away tenure. That's why I say I think our representatives and our senators need therapy, because to continue to be that kind after 3.5 months of just like, what the F, I mean, every time I see one in person, every time I see a legislator in person, I hug them. I say thank you, because I'm sitting over here kicking and screaming every day. Like, y'all a mess. Guys, we actually have kind of, yes, go ahead, Representative.
I was going to say, you asked for the three things that we are our platform, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I have social, economic, and environmental justice for everyone, especially the most vulnerable. That's my platform. Last year, we passed a bill called the Science of Reading, which was a good thing. I think it's good to have the science of reading. I did that when I was in grade school, long time ago. And it made me a much better reader. But they want them to be able to read at third grade level at the end of third grade. And not all kids do that.
Right.
So this year, before they even give the science of reading a chance to work, they passed a bill that said that third graders who can't read by the end of third grade it's mandatory to hold them back to third grade again.
Yeah.
And I pointed out that if they do that, they're going to have this huge bump in kids every year. They're going to have one class that's very low in number. The next year, they're going to have a huge bump. And it's going to cost a lot more money to rearrange all the teachers and get the people they need for things, especially when they go from sixth grade to middle school or eighth grade to high school or whatever your community does. There's always going to be this one class that's bigger. Mm-hmm. And there's a stigma to being held back for kids too.
Absolutely.
If they can get tutoring and pass it by over the summer, they might not be held back. But it's like, give it time to work before you go changing it. Every single year, they bring in something else that changes education, and they don't make it better.
No,
it hasn't improved them at all.
And
they keep.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say there's also.
I was gonna say they. Go ahead.
I'm gonna defer to the elected official.
Every year, they increase the size of the pie that they're going to give to the private schools and the charter schools, but they never increase the size of the pie. So the public education loses budget money every year. They don't cut the whole budget. They just cut what they give to the public schools and give it away to private schools and charter schools. And virtual schools.
Absolutely.
Really
the representative is giving excellent examples about what I call bullying and micromanagement from lawmakers. And it comes from, I believe we have lawmakers who've been in a party, they're abusing their powers, and they no longer trust us as citizens. They don't trust educators. And it comes from a place of fear and doubt. And we need to restore trust back to our citizens, that we have teachers and educational administrators that know what they're doing. And that, see, to me, I have this funny thing. I have to listen to people, and I have to have hearings and information and evidence to make good, solid policy. And while the science of reading sounds good, I have to tell you, and I'd have to listen to those teachers, those third grade teachers who do the teaching of reading, and to their leadership on, is that the right thing we should be doing? And you're absolutely right. This is not a light switch. You don't introduce one thing one year and then suddenly begin to cut it and screw around with it the next year. These things take time to do well, and our children deserve us to do well. And the funding, I'll tell you right now, only after we fully fund public education should we consider funding other approaches to education.
I agree.
And I don't believe we have fully funded our constitutional requirements for public education. At least I don't think we have. Now, if someone wants to tell me we have. So until we do, what the heck are we doing putting money in other people's coffers?
Well, the whole thing is to give everybody whiplash, right? If you continue to give everybody whiplash on education, oh my God, it's failing, but you change it every 15 minutes. But here's another correlation I want you all to think about. As we, if you notice, they wanted that third grade reading level to be the grade level that is actually retained if they don't make it. There's also a study that tells us how children do in the third grade also correlates with incarceration rates. So there's definitely a correlation there. But the whiplash and changing how the direction every 15 minutes. And again, I still don't understand how rural Indiana, with no choice whatsoever, not because there's no money for it, it's because how many charter schools and private schools are in rural Indiana? There's not. How many Catholic schools? How many alternative options other than these school corporations that are in these rural areas? So rural Indiana is actually suffering worse than someplace like Indianapolis that's got a school every two blocks, right? Whether that school got 5 students in it or 5,000 students in it, there's a school every 2 blocks. I don't know. I just think we're doing it wrong, guys. And I pray that, and I ain't just praying, but I'm going to get out and do the work. I'm hoping that y'all too, we're going to send you back, Representative Pat Boyd and Karen Whitney. I'm telling you what, I'm going to come knock doors for you. You give me some dates this summer. I want to come knock doors with you because I want to spend some more time with you. You are phenomenal. I thank you for lending our state your magnificent brain, even though most of the people you're going to talk to in the State House ain't going to understand nothing you say. They're going to be like, what? What she mean? What you talking about? So I want to thank y'all for running and being out here doing the thing. All right, Pat, tell the people where they can find you. Tell us your website. Tell us.
Okay, I have a website, but I'm not doing much with it right now. It's patboy.org.
Mm-hmm.
I have a Facebook page that I haven't looked at in 3 years.
Stop.
I know I should. They keep telling me you got to do this stuff, and I really don't like Facebook at all.
That's
I really don't.
You got them grandchildren.
I really don't want to be connected to it all the time.
You don't have to be. You got them grandchildren back there. You got them young people in your life. You give them access to the campaign page, and you write out what you want them to post, and they can post it on all of your social media handles.
I've got to find somebody who can do that for me.
I know somebody.
You do?
Yeah. Me.
All right. Good.
I'll send you an invoice.
I'll pay it.
Okay. All right. Do you have any events coming up?
I will be having one in June, but I haven't decided the date yet.
Okay.
I need to do that, but I haven't got it set yet.
Right.
So
when you get it set, because we want to get people to help you, make sure you email me all of the things you got going on so I can share it out. Okay.
Okay. I will do that.
But I'm going to send you an invoice.
That's okay.
Black Pearl Studios, baby. Black Pearl IT Solutions. Karen, tell the people where they can find you.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. You can find me on Facebook, Whitney for State Rep. And because I have an economy of words in my life, my website is whitneyforstaterep.com. So all you have to know is Whitney for State Rep. Say that over and over 3 times and click your heels. That'll get it. And then I am going to take you up because I'm going to invite you to Hendricks County and to come do some canvassing with me so we can talk to real folks about real things that matter.
I love canvassing. Okay. I love door knocking. That is like a joy in life for me. So
it's fun.
I enjoy it. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
But let's get it on the calendar because, I travel a lot for Act Blue. I'm not making excuses, but let's get it on the calendar. We'll mark a Saturday. I'll come out because I'm literally just across town, essentially, because I'm, on the east side of Indy. And I really just want to spend some more time with you because you are like, your brain you got one of them big brains.
Yeah.
Y'all, wouldn't it be cool to have some more big brain people in the State House instead of them teeny weeny brain people that like that Wesco kid? I mean, I say it, they don't say it, I say it. He's so disrespectful. I do not like that guy. But we need some big brain people. Guys, listen, time, talent, and treasure. Okay? Please, please, please consider donating to our candidates. Finding some time to maybe go door knock. Find these candidates so that you can figure out a way that you can help them, because we talked about a lot of problems, but there's been a lot of good that comes out, but the good usually comes from what we do. You see what I'm saying? When we have the right people in the right places, fighting for bills, and listen, another thing we need to think about is, when we have so few Democrats in the State House, that means they're spread extremely thin. They got to run from one committee to the next committee and then all the way around the joint. So please consider helping them so that we can get some more balance in that State House in multiple ways. Karen, Pat, oh my God, I feel like we homies now. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I had some amazing guests tonight, but we'll be back. There's more candidates coming up. We have a whole year ready to go, and we're going to make sure that we have everybody squared away and all the information you need so that you can help these candidates win. In the meantime, I'll holler at you later. Peace.
Turn Left is the property of Black Pearl IT Solutions. Executive producer, Indiana's own Dana Black. Music by www.bensound.com.